Architecture is unlike most other creative disciplines. A writer starts to write words on a page that become a book or a play. A dancer moves their body to become the dance. An artist draws or paints what becomes the final piece of art. But architects do not make architecture. Architects make an abstract representation of architecture. So it's important to understand what this means. I'm Liz Watt. Welcome back to Archimash, the best place for aspiring architects to learn faster and easier. In today's episode, we're going to consider abstraction and representation in architectural communication and what this means for us as students and practitioners of the architectural discipline. We'll look at what abstraction and representation is, reasons for abstraction and representation, and types of architectural communication. So if that interests you, then stick around. Unlike other art forms, as a discipline, architects do not have time to learn how to create architecture by physically making it. It's too big, takes a long time, and involves a lot of people and a lot of money to complete. Instead, we must develop ways to represent the final architecture to help us understand, test, or communicate what that final piece of architecture will be like. So let's consider some key definitions. Represent is to present a picture, image, or likeness of something. It is to express in words, images, drawings, symbols, which each stand for something. Abstract in art is to communicate or express a general idea or essence of something rather than a literal reality. It uses design elements such as shape, color, line, texture, form, light, and dark. Abstraction is the process of taking away or removing characteristics from something to reduce them to a set of essential characteristics. Abstraction is about capturing and hiding data or information and including only what is essential to what you're trying to communicate in a particular image or drawing. All architectural communication is a type of abstraction and representation because it is not the final piece of architecture. It is a representation of what that piece of architecture might be like. So each piece of communication an architect produces has a clear purpose and meaning it is intending to portray. It is important that before you start any architectural drawing or other communication that you get very clear on the purpose, the main idea, concept, or message you're trying to present, and the most appropriate method of communicating this. Reasons for representing architecture in different ways change through the process of design, documentation, and construction of a building or structure. So they include things like recording or documenting what exists, testing ideas or options, recording the process of design, persuading other people of your ideas or vision, conveying an atmosphere or mood, explaining an architectural idea, mapping relationships between things, instructing how to build architecture, recording the final piece of architecture, recording the process of creating the architecture, and many, many more. So there are many types of architectural communication. Communication is the act of developing meaning among groups through the use of sufficiently understood and agreed signs, symbols, and conventions. Okay? In architecture, communication occurs in different ways throughout the entire architectural design process. It includes written documents, which is a broad range of documents such as letters, reports, emails, meeting minutes, contracts, schedules which record the process, requirements, conversations, ideas, approvals, or changes to a project. We also create drawings, which is a two-dimensional representation of an idea or object. Sketches. A rapid, rough drawing without many details and not intended as a finished product can be used to quickly capture or communicate an idea. We have diagrams, which is a simple line drawing that shows a single idea, how parts relate to one another, how something works or goes together. We have mapping, which is a process of creating a drawing, picture, or diagram that represents something that exists. We have orthographic drawings, which are ways of representing three-dimensional objects in two dimensions, plan, section, and elevation. Most orthographic drawings exist as a group or suite of drawings that depict each side, i.e. top, bottom, and four sides, and should be read as a whole. House plans are one example of orthographic drawings. We have oblique and perspective drawings, which are more complex drawing systems to represent a three-dimensional object, but in two dimensions. Then we have working drawings, which are a suite of generally orthographic drawings or two-dimensional drawings that communicate how the final piece of architecture or structure will be built or put together. So these use a wide variety of symbols and conventions that are accepted by the industry. We might use collage, which is a piece of art or visual representation made from an assemblage of different forms and materials such as paper, wood, or cloth to create a new composition. We use physical three-dimensional models as a representation and smaller scale of a final piece of architecture. We use digital three-dimensional models, which are a representation also of the final piece of architecture, but digitally. They're usually modeled at a life-size scale, but can only be viewed at a reduced size on a screen or printed on a piece of paper. We use photography and take photographs as a record or representation of existing conditions or the site or the final project. We use graphic design and presentation, the use of a range of graphic digital software to help lay out and present our work in a final product. And finally, built form, the final piece of architecture that people can experience three-dimensionally in real life. If you want to learn a bit more about communications, check out the episode Architecture Communications class, What You'll Learn and Why. The link is in the description. So what do we do with this? Well, communication in architecture is diverse and covers a broad range of mediums and skills. Each of these methods of representation that I've talked about here is a tool to help you communicate your ideas and what you're going to achieve. Over time, some will become easier or more useful to you in different phases of your project and design. However, it is important to develop all these skills and mediums as part of your communication toolkit as an architect. When you're starting your studies, begin with what you know and start to explore new and diverse ways of communicating. At some time, you will be required to explore or present particular types of communication, such as a collage, sketch, diagram, or physical model. Treat each new method of representation as an opportunity to learn and express an idea in a new way. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. All these methods of communication have been done and mastered before by many, many people. Start to build up your library of examples and precedents to draw from so that you can save a lot of time by studying how others represent and communicate ideas. So if you have any questions or thought about abstraction, representation, or architectural communication, let me know in the comments or at archimesh.com/askliz. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit like and subscribe to my channel because I have a ton of content to share to help make learning, studying, and practicing architecture easier and faster. While you wait for the next episode, make sure you check out some of my other work here or at archimesh.com. That's everything for today. I hope you found it helpful. Have a great day and I will see you next time.